Well, welcome back, guys. So today we're going to look at something called Xlink Kai, and this is their website, which is the teamxlink.co.uk website. And this is the landing page where you can sign up for an X tag, which is pretty simple, or you can just see an overview of what it is. And simplistically, what it is it's a tunneling piece of software that allows any console from the early 2000s to present day, give or take, to get online and play those games that had a LAN mode option, but you can tunnel it to other people. And you can see basically what you need to do: get your X tag, get it downloaded, whatever, and get your console connected up. So what we'll do is I will just quickly show you on the wiki. This is the amount of consoles that are currently supported, and like most of the major players are all supported. And this guide is going to be showing you specifically how you would set it up in a headless Linux Ubuntu server on VMware ESXi. But loosely, this guide can be followed for other hypervisors or a physical Linux server, or indeed the Raspberry Pi. They're all very similar. The first thing you're going to want to do is download Ubuntu server as an ISO. So a quick Google search will get us to the Ubuntu server page. Sure. And simply you just download the latest version, long-term service branch, Ubuntu server. Yep, latest version, just download it. And we can see we've got that downloading there. With the ISO downloaded, you're going to want to either have some way to mount it on a physical Linux machine, maybe burn it to a disk, a DVD, or if you're doing what I'm doing here, which is ESXi, you're going to want to log into your ESXi host, go to Data Store Browser, go to your ISOs directory, and you can see I've already got it here, but you're going to want to hit Upload, and then you'd want to select that ISO for upload. Once you have the ISO uploaded, you can close this menu. You're now going to want to create a new VM. So we're going to click Create, New Virtual Machine. I'm going to give it a name, which is just going to be Xlink Kai. And I'm happy for it to use the latest version of the compatibility. It's going to be Linux, and it's going to be Ubuntu Linux 64-bit. I'm going to select my storage, which is my only option. And now we're going to want to just give it some hardware resources. One CPU is going to be fine, I think. 4 gigs of RAM, 16 gig of hard drive. I'm going to change the controller. I'll leave that standard. You're going to want to select which network you need to put it in. For me, it's going to be VLAN 40. For you, it'll be something different. And just make sure that you're on that latest version of the NIC as well there. And then we need to select the ISO. So we can see there that at power on, it's going to select that image. And then we just need to go over to options, boot options, change it to EFI, make sure that's unticked, which it is, and we should be good to create that virtual machine. With the virtual machine selected, you can now power it on. And I'm going to select console in a new tab. You can either wait for this, or you can click on the screen once and hit enter. Once the image is loaded, you'll be able to select your language. You can just use enter and the arrow keys. I'm going to say Ubuntu server is fine. I'm happy that that's selected an IP address in the range that I want. We don't need a proxy. We don't need to wait for that. Use the entire disk is fine. And we'll say done. And yes. Now you're going to need to select some user credentials. I would suggest, for the sake of argument, putting Xlink Kai lowercase for everything. And we can skip that for now. You're going to want to install OpenSSH. So you use spacebar to select. We can tab across this to done. And now you're installing Ubuntu Linux. Once the install is complete, you'll see you now get a reboot option, so you can just press the down arrow twice and hit enter. And you'll probably get this message. So what we will do is now close the console, and I'm going to power off the VM. We can now edit the VM, and I'm going to delete the CD drive. And I actually want to take a note of the MAC address that it's given that nick, because I want to set a DHCP reservation against it for essentially a static IP address, and hit save. Here we can see on my firewall the DHCP reservation I've put in place. You may also want to put a DNS override in for the hostname. Again, depending on how your firewall is configured or your router, you may need to port forward if you don't have UPnP detection on. So how you do it on the firewall I have, which is OpenSense, is you can set aliases. So I've got an alias called Xlink Kai host for the IP address, and I've got an alias called Xlink Kai port, which is the default port that Xlink Kai talks on. Then here you'll see that I have a NAT rule, which is forwarding the port from the interface of WAN, which is obviously the external internet connection, TCP, and it's going to be that port forwarded in to the host and on that port. So it's going to pass that traffic. With the DHCP settings and the DNS settings set, we should now be able to power back on the VM. After waiting a few moments, I've hit the refresh button and we can see that it's populated out the IP addresses. I'm back on my host device now, and this is my Mac, and I'm going to SSH to the user, which is Xlink Kai, at the device, which is Xlink Kai. If you had a DNS issue here, you could put the IP address instead. It's going to ask you to accept the fingerprint, so I'll say yes, and then type the password, which again is Xlink Kai. And we can see I'm successfully remoted into the Linux VM. On the screen now we have the Xlink Kai website, and we have the VM SSH'd into on the left there. You can see here we can, if we wanted to, we could say download Xlink Kai, and it will say if you're using Linux or a Pi, you want to add this repository. So if you click this link, you'll see it will give you lots of different commands. And it's not terrible, but it's not the quickest to try and copy and paste all this lot in. And also it doesn't, on this version of Xlink Kai, I believe on later versions it will, but on this version, it doesn't actually install it as a running service, so you have to keep launching it if you wanted to, which some may find annoying. So what I've done is I've actually got a GitHub repository here with instructions on how to set this up. And I've actually made a quick script, which you can see here, hopefully. Let me just try and squeeze that across. It's got the commands in that I just showed you, but it's automated, so it makes it a lot easier. Okay. So what we're going to do, is we're simply going to follow this guide, and we can see here we've already met the prereqs. We've built the VM, and we now need to just follow these 3 steps basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy that and paste that, which is going to get the script, and then we're going to copy that and paste that, which is going to change the permissions to executable, and then we're going to run the script, and it'll be asked for the password, which is Xlink Kai, and that's it. And now what that's going to do is that's going to update and upgrade all of the repositories. It's going to set the hostname to Xlink Kai, which should already be there, but that's what it's going to do. It's going to install those dependencies that Xlink Kai needs, configure whatever that is, then install Xlink Kai, then create and set up the service so that it runs in the background automatically, and then it's going to show some summary output. And whilst we're waiting for that, I will just show on the script, actually. This is how the service works. And you can see here it's going to launch Xlink Kai, the Kai engine, but there's a line before it that says sleep for 30. And that line became quite important because we found sometimes the network wasn't up in time and it would fail. So just having that sleep helped a lot. Okay, and that's now finished, and we can see the summary information. So let's have a quick run through it. So it's saying if you want to check the status of the service, you can paste in that line of code, that command. If you needed to restart it, you can paste that. Or if you want to get straight to the web portal of it, the UI, you can either go to it over the IP address, or if your DNS is up and running, hopefully the DNS name. So what we'll do is we'll have hope and copy and paste that one. And yes, success. We have managed to get to the Xlink Kai UI. So at this stage, you would now put in your X tag. If you don't have one, you can obviously click the link to register. So we can see here I'm logged in, and I'm just going to configure Xlink quickly. So I'm just going to add my X tag again, and I'm going to tick also login, dark mode because I prefer that. We'll need to put the port in, which if you don't remember it, it's on my little guide notes here. And we'll force the network card. And add the 360. That should be fine for now, so I'll hit save. And there we have it. It has successfully configured and logged me into Xlink Kai. Now, if you are missing this logo or any of these icons, that can be a DNS issue. And I'll just quickly pop in what you have to do to whitelist that. Could be that you've got an ad blocker on or something on your firewall. So once again, I'm here on my firewall, and we can see I'm using unbound DNS. I've actually got some block lists which are loaded into the DNS, and this just blocks ads and anything that you don't really want. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's blocking Xlink, so I've had to whitelist the domain, and I've just whitelisted the URL that those pictures come from, and I put a star dot as well, which I think will cover all bases. The next thing to check is the metrics, and we can see that apparently we are reachable. I'm connected to France, which is relatively near, I suppose. It's taken that port. It's saying that the NAT type is strict, which is fine. If you hovered over that, you would see a public IP address, which obviously I'm not going to do. And we can see currently, if I scroll down, no found consoles. And then the next thing we want to check is game arenas. And just go in where there are something. 17 people here now, look. And what we're looking for is we're looking for these, if it's saying no connection, then that's a problem. So we're looking for these bar graphs to come up which show the ping of the user. But let me just have a quick look here. Ah, yes, okay, here we go. So this is a better example, and that's a relatively low ping, hence the green bar. So it would appear this is all set up and working correctly. You may remember earlier in the video, when we were creating the VM, we had to assign it to a network, and we assigned this VM to VLAN 40. There is an ESXi specific thing we need to do, which is enable promiscuous mode, and we're going to need to do it in two places. Firstly, we're going to need to do it on the virtual switch. So we'll go into virtual switches, and then we'll go to vSwitch 0, and we'll go edit settings, and we'll go to security, and then we'll go promiscuous mode, accept, and we'll hit save. And then we're going to want to go back to networking, back to port groups, VLAN 40, edit, security, and we're going to want to accept promiscuous mode there as well. Finally, reboot the virtual machine. And here I am after a quick reboot of the PlayStation 3 and the Xlink Kai server, and it now recognizes the PS3 as configured correctly. So this should allow me to now play online, and I will test that. Okay, here we go. The game that defined a generation, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And I will warn you, there's two problems with this footage. One, it's a little bit choppy, so I apologise for that. And two, damn, I can't play these games anymore. Up next, we've got an absolute banger of a game, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, another classic. And here I am online with my mate Ollie, known as the Big O amongst the ladies. Hey.
Gun game. Mission clock about to expire.
I think that about wraps it up for this video. Hopefully you found that interesting. Obviously, I appreciate that it's a very niche subject in a very niche set of circumstances. But hopefully you've learned something from this. I hope to follow up this video with showing how to do it in proxmox, which again is something that somebody was specifically looking to do. So now I've proved this is working, hopefully I can look into that for that user. If you can leave me some comments, likes, subscribe, that would all be appreciated, and thanks for watching.